I can't make sense of it.
A guy from a top medical program in the state of Texas has executed people for less.
The question isn't why he did it. It's how he got away with it.
He was charming, intelligent, very handsome.
So there were no complications?
This isn't right.
I'm trying to understand him. Trying to get a picture of who he is, why he is.
I leave myself in God's hands.
God help us.
Y'all campaign is about fear. It's about inciting fear in people. You all attack people with fear.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering. I hope you're having an absolutely wonderful day. I'm a bit under the weather today, so it'll just be only 5 videos or so, and then I'll go back to bed. But there's too much hilarity to not cover. So there was a documentary, a PBS documentary, about Dr. Anthony Fauci, you know, the Saint Fauci, leader of the COVIDians, one of the, you know, a made man, a literal savior walking among us. And I can't believe one of the clips that they actually left in it, because it was an absolute destruction. So Fauci goes to the hood, literally, and his intent is to talk to people who had some level of hesitancy about the jab. He also is caught on tape essentially blaming conservatives for extending everything. Not a great look. I actually cannot believe that they left this in there, but they did. So the first clip, hopefully I can actually show. I mean, it's PBS, so it's public broadcasting. But you see here, you know, Fauci got destroyed. I can't believe they let this footage see the light of day. And it's just absolute pure destruction.
People in America are not settled with the information that's been given to us right now. So I'm not going to be lining up taking a shot or a vaccination for something that wasn't clear in the first place. And then you all create a shot in miraculous time. It takes years to create vaccinations.
Well, it used to take years.
Okay, it used to.
You know how many years were invested in this approach? About 20 years of science to get us.
20
20
years
years is not enough. And 9 months is definitely not enough for nobody to be taking no vaccination that you all came up with.
The only reason I'm talking to you right now, as close as we are, is that I've been vaccinated.
Right.
But if it allows thousands of people like you don't get vaccinated, you're going to let this virus continue to percolate in this country and in this world.
So now they're doing the shame thing, right? You're killing grandma. It's all over.
Like the common flu then, right?
It's much more serious than the flu.
Well, the flu kills a lot of people annually too.
You know how many people died of the flu the last year? I mean, not this year, virtually none, but the previous year, about 20 to 30,000. You know how many people have died from COVID?
Well, the number that you all giving that died, that's once again, that's you all's number.
You gonna pass?
Yeah, definitely. Because when you start talking about paying people to get vaccinated, when you start talking about incentivizing things to get people vaccinated, there's something else going on with that.
I mean, who could blame them? Who could blame them for feeling that way?
Something else going on.
It is something going on with
something else.
You're right. But I'm glad millions of people,
She just say there is something going on with that.
like me and most everybody here, didn't get an incentive. You know what their incentive was? Protecting their health and protecting the city. But I won't keep you anymore.
It's okay, because my incentive, y'all campaign is about fear. It's about inciting fear in people. You all attack people with fear. That's what this pandemic is.
I mean, did they think that they were going to bully the guy into getting it? I mean...
It's a fear. It's fear, this pandemic. That's all it is.
How'd that go? I mean, you know, like... Yeah. And you even see this here. You know how many people passed away from the flu? Virtually none this year. But last year, case in point. I mean, this is I'm not sure. This documentary, I guess, just came out or whatever. But I mean, and there are many more clips too. Here he's talking about red states, and they're the ones that are going to keep everything going here. Even though they're in the inner city now, and people there don't want to take it either.
About those other states.
Oh my God. They're going to keep the outbreak smoldering in the country. It's so crazy. I mean, they're not doing it because they say they don't want to do it. They're Republicans. They don't like to be told what to do. Right. And we got to break that, unpack that.
How you guys doing with vaccine?
Hello.
They're like, no, we're good. No, we're good. It's like, and by the way, also, Bowser, the other individual there, has a long and very interesting clip. You say, ha 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 ha, Fauci gets destroyed by the commoner who calls him out on his BS. And even Fauci admits that the flu disappeared for a whole year. What a piece of garbage. I mean, that's probably a really interesting point. He says virtually none. I mean, I think that's pretty interesting, don't you think? We can't say we don't have any proof anyway. All I can do is analyze the statement. But we do know tens of thousands of people traditionally have passed away every year from that. So in the year of this, virtually none. That seems awfully suspicious to me, doesn't it? And this is all part of, his documentary. There's a moment in a new PBS documentary about Dr. Anthony Fauci where a protester holds up a handmade sign reading, Dr. Fauci, you're ending us. It says something about Fauci that it's not initially clear when the sign was waved in anger. Obviously, in 1980s, as AIDS made its deadly rise, and in the 2020s with the coof. American Masters, Dr. Tony Fauci, offers a portrait of an unlikely lightning rod. It felt like there needed to be a story for people understanding what public health officials go through. What do you mean go through? I can't imagine there's another public health official. I couldn't even name one. Could you? Could you name another public health official? I don't think I can. So it wasn't that it's just a public health official thing. It's that this guy was foisted upon us as a Jesus-like figure that was meant to be followed and never questioned. That was also enforced by all major social media. YouTube, specifically, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of them in lockstep saying, you cannot question this man. You cannot, as we saw in the files on Friday, you can't even share true stories about something that bad that happened to you if you had gotten the poke. Now, I'm not saying, all things have side effects, and, there's some percentage of that in risk in almost anything we do. But I don't think any other treatment or anything like that was banned. You weren't, even if, again, we saw in the files, even if it's true, it must be considered misinformation. Now, we allowed the film crew to follow him for 23 months, starting back in January 2021, and it covers his career and crisis, especially the way the coup was handled by the Trump administration. Oh, of course. When you talk about all the different things coming together for a disaster, that's what happened. A divided country, a president who amplified the division. What do you mean? He was pushing the poke? Are you kidding me? He got it. He pushed it. Operation Warp Speed was his thing. You couldn't ask for a worse combination of things, he said. Director Mark Manucci offers an intimate look into the subject with images of Fauci running from meeting to meeting and wolfing down wheat thins between Zooms. His wife attests, by the way, she's the one that's the ethics watcher or whatever, to the stress by pointing out their security detail due to the threats. This story illuminates, by the way, he's the one running on TV, right? Telling everyone, follow the science, TM. He's the one that made himself the center of all of this. That was a choice. Now, I don't condone anybody. The guy shouldn't need a security detail, right? I don't condone that kind of behavior. But I'm not going to pretend that. I'm not going to say that it's not okay to not like the guy. The story illuminates, and he'd be the first to say it, some very dark stuff about this country and how a person who had devoted his life to helping individuals got twisted in this current climate. Michael Cantor, executive producer for the American Master Series, says that Fauci is a figure who has been central to American life for decades and deserves an examination. Well, yeah, about those beagles, right? Why don't we talk about those beagles, the sandflies or whatever he let eat their faces? He's a very controversial figure, and there are going to be people who are going to voice, just as in this film, great displeasure about what he's done and his approach to things. Well, I mean, look, I don't know because I wasn't in the rooms. Okay, I wasn't in the rooms for when all these decisions were made. All I can speak to as somebody who was looking for answers just like anyone else, there certainly was this weird feeling, and it felt like everything was changing all the time. Like, oh, you need to wear a mask. Oh, now you need 2 masks. Now you need 3. Well, actually, it doesn't do. Well, actually, you don't need them. Or, oh, get the poke. It'll stop the spread. Oh, never mind. It won't now. So all this stuff was being told to Americans, I really hope, out of good faith. Like, they just, things change. They find out more things. But I understand why people might feel that it wasn't, and the guy may have done some great things, but I don't think becoming a public health official is supposed to be something you do for fame and fortune. This is a guy that made more money than anybody in government, from what I understand, or he had like he was the highest paid public official, I think, or something, some insane amount of money. Okay. Plus he got kickbacks that he doesn't have to report. So who knows what those are, allegedly. So, I don't know. I think it's pretty coincidental when he retired. Because, he's probably not going to be around to see the real long-term effects of all this. But yeah, let's continue worshiping the guy. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do make sure you leave a like on it. We'll talk to you again real soon.